Family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora in this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Family, I have been wanting to discuss this story for quite some time now. Since I saw it, it's been a minute since I've came across this footage, so I want to share it with you. Of course, I've been talking about all sorts of Black history, including not too long ago, a recent young cowgirl, Black cowgirl, and her just causing a whole stir. Of course, we Black folks are the original the term cowboys. Of course, there's more than enough evidence to show that it came from really a derogatory term that most believe it came from related to cow hands. Of course, it was our people that was doing the work related to cattle initially. And so it was a derogatory term. And like everything else them folks do, they steal everything, steal derogatory terms. Where's my gavel? Tell Black to me. In case you don't know, the Vicki Show is the home of the hand claps and the gavel raps, baby. I've been on different platforms for many years, and so I am the OG of the gavel. Brought it with me online from a revelation I had almost 20 years ago. But family, I wanted to talk about this very briefly, beloved, because an actual real life incident took place with a Black rancher. And he made something very, very clear to these police that came up to his property. Watch this.
But this is cowboy country. We don't around with that shit. So there's two options here.
Yeah.
Y'all get out, or we can all get down. What's up?
We're not getting down.
I think. Okay, then get the fuck out of my property.
Okay, the brother said the jurisdiction is different here. He wanted him to know that he stepped into a different portal by coming on this land. He said, all that BS that you do out there, baby, we don't do over here. And he didn't just make that clear about his options and letting him know, on my land, you in a whole different type planet. In other words, that's me throwing that little bit in there. He said, we do things different over here in cowboy land. And so once he made that clear, you see how the police just got some straighten up. And so he told him to get to so-and-so after so-and-so after so-and-so, so-and-so. Yeah, that's the kind of energy with them folks. Because see, they use, in this instance, they use their badge and their law. They do things under the color of law is what it's called. As a cloak of their criminality, their illegality, or their immoral behaviors. They'll use a cloak of the law to make you think that you're supposed to be doing something, or you're supposed to submit to something that you're not supposed to because they got on a badge and a uniform. If you don't get your funny looking self off here, was it St. Augustine that said an unjust law is no law at all? How many of y'all know we always let you know not to be the aggressor unnecessarily, to follow the rules and regulations and don't be messy and stuff. But we know them folks have a tendency to use all kinds of legal means as a cloak to cover their real crimes. I've often said in many ways, and the sentiment is the same when I tell you that oftentimes your lawmakers are your lawbreakers. That's a reality. I can't wait to see what y'all have to say about it below. And I want you to remind you that there were many farmers, cattle hands, ranchers, and so forth. Of course, the best of the best were Black folk anyway. And of course, there are many names, and I don't want to just emphasize this one name over others, but many of you, maybe you all grew up hearing or watching The Lone Ranger. Well, there's more than enough evidence to let us know that the Lone Ranger was actually inspired by an actual Black rancher by the name of Bass Reeves. How many of y'all heard about him? I just want to give you just a little bit of something before we get ready to go, and keep that in mind with that clip that you saw. One of the things it says here in this article, it says, like many things during slavery, history may have been obscured, and the actual, quote, Lone Ranger seems to have been inspired by an African-American man by the name of Bass Reeves. He was born a slave but escaped west during the Civil War, where he lived in what was then known as Indian Territory. He eventually became a deputy U.S. Marshal, was a master of disguise, an expert marksman, and had a Native American companion and rode a silver horse. Historians also believe that for a short time he rode a white horse. But family, it talks about different incidents that he ended up encountering or occurring in his life. It says that during the 19th century, the Wild West drew enslaved Blacks with the hope of freedom and wages. When the Civil War ended, it says freedmen came west with the hope of a better life where the demand for skilled labor was high. And of course, we have to always remind some of you all about our history, because when we tell you, when you see how strong we are about reparations and justice, you will understand when we say we everything, we mean everything. It talks about at the war's end how he was Reeves was married, began raising his children, and worked as a farmer as well as an occasional scout for lawmen tracking criminals. In 1875, Judge Isaac Parker hired him as one of 200 deputy marshals in the Oklahoma Territory sent out to tame, quote, Indian country. At a time when the savage man, it says, the average man, excuse me. Ooh, that was a Freudian slip right there when I said savage man. At the time when the average man was about 5'6", Reeves stood tall at 6'2". He was said to possess superhuman strength, but that was because he relied on home remedies he had been passed down for different ailments, and was also bent on gaining better strength. So he did exercises that pushed his body to the limit. Now that's a whole nother story right there. So when I tell you all about some of our healing remedies, and you see that that was the case with him, that was manifested in real time, we're going to leave that right there. Hint, 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 hint. It says, as the first black lawman west of the Mississippi, Reeves cut a striking figure on his large gray, almost white horse. And it talks about his trademark, wearing his trademark black hat and twin 45 coat peacemakers cross draw style, it says. Now, it goes on to saying a whole bunch of other stuff about him. It says that he became famous among criminals for his skills and relentless pursuit. Although shot at many times, he remained untouched by a single bullet and because of this, he was called the Indomitable Marshal. So tough he could spit, it says, so tough he could, quote, spit on a brick and it busted. Y'all, let me hit the gavel. Now y'all see why the white folks, them folks was copycatting him with to my Lone Ranger. That's why he had that black on, because he was trying to be black. A newspaper of his times reported, quote, place a warrant for arrest in his hands and no circumstance can cause him to deviate. The Oklahoma City Weekly Times Journal reported, quote, Reeves was never known to show the slightest excitement under any circumstance. And in bold, this article says, he does not know what fear is, end quote. It says that although another newspaper says reported Reeves he brought in 3,000 living felons and 20 dead, it says he corrected the record, saying that during his storied career, he only, I'm going to use the word, took out 14 men in self-defense. One story passed down through the ages was when three men he was pursuing managed to get the drop on him and ordered him off his horse. The leader approached, gloating that, quote, gloating that the, quote, Indomitable Marshal was about to die. Showing no fear, Reeves calmly took out his warrants and asked the three men, what is the date today? The leader of the three asked, what difference does that make? And Reeves explained that he'd need to put the date of the arrest on the paperwork when he took the three of them in, dead or alive, their choice. And just as he said that, Marshal Reeves used a distraction to grab the barrel of the leader's gun. One of them opened fire, but Reeves drew and shot him, you know what, gave him obituary. He then took out, I'm using that word, the leader by bashing his skull with the pistol. Then the third man was wise enough to submit to the arrest. Whoa! Whoa! Family. It says, just like the TV show, Reeves was also famous for his disguises. While in pursuit of two criminals, he discovered them hiding in a cabin that would be difficult to approach safely. He shot 3 holes in his hat, changed into tattered clothes, and hid his handcuffs in a bag. He tied up his horse out of sight and walked up to the cabin, appearing exhausted. Reeves told a tale of harrowing escape from the custody of U.S. Marshals. The two bad guys were mesmerized as Reeves showed them the bullet-riddled hat, confirming the tale. The gullible criminals invited him to join them in the next planned robbery. Y'all hear that? While the wanted men slept, Reeves quietly handcuffed both of them and then let them sleep through the night. I'm trying not to do my Mississippi scream, y'all. In the morning, he told them that he let them sleep so that they would be rested for their long ride back to jail in Fort Smith. Family, I can go on with these slick stories of that black swag and finesse, but I'm going to leave it right there. Speaking about black swag and finesse, I'm actually doing an intensive 60-day academy for my men only. Well, baby, we're going to be talking about the spiritual secrets. Somebody say spiritual. Secrets of manifesting resources for you and your household, and the secrets of divine protection. Somebody say divine protection. Baby, this is something Spirit told me to share. This is not a topic that I normally like to get into. So instead of complaining with a whole bunch of men over in the corner somewhere because they can't get a woman, just come get these spiritual secrets. Talk black to me. Go to my website at vickiplanet.com. I also have a special course for my women only, for a 90-day course. Your life will never be the same. I can promise you that. With my women, we're going to be talking about how we use our feminine secrets to manifest the life of our dreams. All of this you can find out at vickiplanet.com. Brothers, if you want that swag, baby, if you want that spiritual Bass Reeves swags, baby, you better get in where you fit in. The name of my course for my men is called Treasures of Darkness. For my ladies, it's called Isis Goddess Mystery Temple. Family, be sure to share the broadcast here. I can't wait to see you again.